Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that spring is treating you well. Still dealing with a bit of snow here in Colorado, if you didn't already know. Anyways, 3 months ago, I made a video that went over the first 3 months of my dive into trying to become a full-time landscape photographer right here on YouTube. This video is just going to be essentially a continuation and update on that journey. And if you didn't catch that video, I went into details about why the paths I chose and why I picked YouTube as what I wanted to do for landscape photography. You can find it here. I'll be going over stats and progress, revenue from YouTube and other streams, finding out if we reached the goals set in the last video, and finally talking about the current projects and future goals that I'm working on now. So whether you're thinking about taking this journey yourself or simply just curious, I hope there's something in here for you. Let's get started. Let's start off by taking a look at the stats from the first 3 months. And again, if you want a more in-depth look, definitely check out part 1 of this series. So using this as a reference, we can kind of get an idea of if the momentum continued or dwindled into the current 3 months we're about to take a look at. And just one thing to keep in mind that you'll notice in this graph is there's basically a split, and that split comes from the most popular video on my channel, the calibration video, which if you haven't caught, you can check here. And this just happened because YouTube decided to push that video to millions of people, and it gave me the majority of my views during that period. Now let's take a look at the last 3 months. Views were, as you can tell, a lot more consistent, but also nothing crazy like those 12 to 14K days either. And the majority of the views you see here still came from that calibration video. Speaking of, let's take a deeper look at the views breakdown. Basically, half of all the views the channel has gotten came from that one video. And I've really struggled to have any other content get picked up by YouTube's algorithm. But honestly, this is just part of the game. And I continue to say that I got very, very lucky those first 3 months, because from what I can tell, it's not typical to grow as fast as I did during that period. And I knew coming into this quarter, things would definitely slow down and the numbers would fall off. But the good news is they haven't completely dwindled, which is absolutely fantastic and more than I could ever hope for. So going back to our overall stats, I wanted to point out that I started live streaming specifically, January 14th-ish, which you can see right here on the graph, with the hopes of providing more connected content with you lovely people while also being pretty fun for me. It doesn't net very many new subs because the majority of the audience is people who have already subscribed to the channel. Speaking of which, you might be wondering why I don't particularly focus too much on my subscriber gain. And the truth is, subscribers really don't matter. I mean, they matter, you guys matter. But if I had 5,000 subs and 60% of them watch my weekly videos religiously, I'd have more average views than I do now. What is important is gaining subscribers that follow your content for you, not necessarily for a specific type of content you do, which brings me to my next point. Growth is always a plus, but I will say that the growth has come at a small cost for me. By gaining so many subs or views from that singular calibration video, it potentially hurts all other content that I create. And as much as I enjoy editing and providing technical content regarding those topics, it's not what I want my entire channel to be about. There's a lot to photography, and my personal enjoyment comes from making videos in the field and chasing light and talking about the philosophy of photography. Even though I'll never stop making those, I just have to be aware that the majority of my current audience likely subscribe to me for Lightroom tips or editing techniques. And don't get me wrong, I am extremely grateful for all of the growth and support. It's just important to recognize that subs aren't the most important factor in your YouTube channel. And I have a great example for this. Take Gavin Hardcastle, aka Photo Tripper, for example. His videos from the last 6 months have averaged around 45,000 views per video, yet he only has 56,000 subs. And compare that to, well, literally any other photography channel, Nigel Jansen, Thomas Heaton, Sean Tucker, Nick Page, the Northrops, Mads, anybody. The majority of them average 10% views compared to their sub count. And Gavin is close to 100%. It's absolutely insane viewership. And while I can't tell you exactly why that's the case, I have to imagine it's because people who hit the subscribe button for Gavin simply just want to watch him and be entertained. It isn't just about photography. It's entertainment first and photography second. He found this niche and he does it really well. It also means he could probably post a video with no title and a black thumbnail, and the majority of his subs would still watch it, which is absolutely amazing. And the reason I'm saying all of this is because it's important on how you develop an audience that follows you for you, not because of anything else. They just enjoy watching you talk about whatever it is that you talk about. And I could probably make an entire video on this, but for now, we're kind of getting off track. All right, so let's dive into what many of you are probably here for, revenue. So my main focus for the first 3 months was just to make content and have fun. And while I did still try to do that these past 3 months, I was definitely trying to figure out more ways to monetize my channel just a little bit more. So with that said, let's start with YouTube. I earned $1,029 from YouTube ads with a pretty decent CPM. At least I think it's somewhat decent, but realistically, I'm just guessing. You'll notice again though, that 60% of those earnings came from that single calibration video. And also if you compare this amount that I made in the first 3 months to now, and I only had those ads enabled for 1 month of the first 3 months, it's nearly the same amount. And if it wasn't for that one popular video, I'd make a little more than $100 a month, which is just enough to cover my internet bill. So the point I'm trying to make is that you can't have a single source of revenue doing this, and the intention with YouTube is just to be an outlet to grow an audience more than it is to be some huge stream of money. It's like my Instagram, except I get a lot more enjoyment and fulfillment out of it, and hopefully you, the viewer, get a lot more value from it as well. So some other sources of income were I started Amazon affiliates, I want to say a little bit right at the end of the last 3 months. And if you look at this report, in the last 3 months, I've earned roughly $247 from those Amazon affiliate links, which isn't half bad at all. That being said, the majority of that comes from whoever the kind soul was that bought a Fujifilm GFX 50R through my affiliate link, and that netted me $180 all on its own. So if you're watching this person that used my link, thank you, kind stranger. Seriously, that's awesome. And like I said previously, I started streaming in the middle of January, and during those streams, viewers could donate to support me and just in general be wonderful people. So thank you. During the 11 streams, I earned a total of $307, and a huge thanks to anyone who tuned in to those and donated or just tuned in and chatted. It means the world. It's awesome. I really enjoy those. So I also started selling a very specific Lightroom preset associated with this video about Lightroom Mobile. I provided the option to save my viewers some time, and I also explain in that video how to make the preset themselves, but a few people were kind enough to buy the preset and support me, and this earned me roughly $210 so far. And lastly, just like last time around, I've earned a few $100s a month for the F-Stopper articles that I write weekly, and we'll say that it's close to about $500. So altogether, this is roughly $2,300 over the last 90 days, which is certainly not enough to live off of quite yet, but it's no small amount either. And one thing to keep in mind here is there are costs associated with a lot of those things. For example, to sell those Lightroom presets, I needed to upgrade my web service to have commerce on it, which cost me an extra $170 a year. Thankfully, they've already paid for themselves, which means that anything else I sell for the rest of the year won't incur the same cost. Also things like cameras, lights, and all that stuff that I have to buy. I mean, you get the picture. Photography pun. In part 1 of this series, I went over a few goals that I had, and I just wanted to go back over those to see if I reached them. The first one was to reach 20,000 subs, and even though this was really optimistic, knowing the growth would slow down heavily after that calibration video died down, I think we got pretty close at 19,100 subs at the time of filming this video. I'd say that was a success. I also wanted to create at least 1 video a week and not burn out. Definitely created more than 1 video a week, but I wouldn't say I'm feeling burnt out, definitely more stressed than I would like to admit, which I'll talk about shortly. Something else I wanted to do was try to find sponsorships. And so far, I think I've reached out to Squarespace roughly 3 times, and I just have never gotten a reply. I've restricted myself to only trying to reach out to the places that I actually use, like Squarespace, because personally, I'd like to work with companies that I've opted into their platform rather than them just using them because they're paying me. All things considered, I think I'm still a bit of a too small of a channel, and I don't have the average views per video that you really need. And I'm not really sure where that break-in point happens, but I'd love to find it because this is certainly one of the best ways to supplement income on YouTube. Something else I wanted to do was start a website newsletter, and yeah, I never got to that. Maybe at some point, if I feel like I can provide actual value to the people that join the newsletter, I will, but not right now. So last but not least, and definitely the most important thing coming up, was the goal to just find better ways to monetize the channel. I have a few things in the works, as you've already seen. I've developed a new logo that I hope I can get on a shirt at some point so that I can actually sell. I did try to order some shirts online, and the quality wasn't good enough, so I'm going to look for a local distributor here. I've established a working relationship with a high-quality print shop here, which is why I asked everyone on my community post about print-related questions, because I'll have a video soon about printing locally or printing yourself. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed down below. and hopefully I could just start getting some prints into users' hands. Lastly, I'm going to be enabling user memberships to this channel, hopefully this week if it gets approved. And this is just like a $6 a month thing that mostly shows support for me while hopefully having some cool perks for you guys. I don't expect to generate any large flows of revenue, but having them established and in place while I continually create content will help me moving forward. To be completely honest with you guys, the next 3 months are really crucial because my full-time job has come to an end. I never expected to try and turn this channel into a career this early on, and I'm not entirely sure I'll be able to. One thing I'm trying to balance is not burning out and losing my enjoyment of making these videos or just talking about photography in general. Currently, I'm weighing the option of just getting another job and taking YouTube a bit slower, or trying to push myself for the next 3 months and just find more ways of steady income. My largest concern, like I said, is just making sure that the quality of the content continues to improve, which can be really difficult if you get lost trying to figure out ways to earn more income on that content. At the end of the day, I just want to take landscape photos and make videos and build a community that provides value and entertainment to the people like you who take the time out of their day to just hear what I have to say. I never want to take money from a company I wouldn't use just because it helps myself. And I'll never sell a preset pack that I don't personally use myself. And overall, I never want to approach content just by thinking, how much money can I make if I make this video? That's just not how I am. So with that said, my goals for the next 3 months are to reach 25,000 subs that hopefully join for all of my content, not just a specific type of video. I want to make at least 1 video a week like I have been doing, and maybe host about 3 live streams a month. I want to get my print sales online, and maybe I'll develop a Lightroom course or plan a workshop. I'm still pretty unsure about the last 2. And while my future is definitely a bit uncertain, and I said this in my last video, but it can be really tough to balance the enjoyment of what you're doing with the pressure and anxiety of trying to monetize it, which can in turn just burn you out of doing what you love. Hopefully, I can continually incorporate ways to help me pay my bills that are not intrusive or overbearing to you wonderful people, because you guys are what really matters. So with that said, thank you so much for your continued support and viewership. I genuinely cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. And while I'm not exactly sure what path I'm taking yet, I know that I won't stop making videos. Maybe with a lot of luck and a bit of hard work, I can get the gears moving just enough so that I don't have to look elsewhere. Either way, thanks for watching, and I look forward to reading through all of your lovely comments down below, and I'll see you again next week. Later.